at what we found. It's a big sound in a small town. Far from the bright lights, they're making music every night. Hear what is all around. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town. It's a big sound in a small town.
Hi, and welcome to Big Sound Small Town. I'm your host, Sandy Carlton, and this is a podcast about the lives and stories of the musicians, writers, artists, and their associates that have their roots in the small towns and communities across America. If you like what you hear, tell somebody. Enjoy.
Seemed to fit me right. My skirts were all too long or short, my shirts too loose or tight. And when I swear, what do I do with my hair? How am I gonna get to work on time? It's Greta Garbo or Frankenstein is why women need wives. It's just like in the army, girl, you know, be all you can be. 'Cause girls can do anything. Women must do everything and be all they want you to be. Oh, I try to be tough, but it ain't enough is what I always find. Oh, just too much. The rest of the time is why women need wives. After half a glass I feel divine. It's all peace on earth, goodwill towards man. Everything is gonna turn out fine. Say the perfect thing at just the perfect time. Just keep reading between the lines is why women need wives. He said sorry for interrupting, but I know what you're gonna say. It was hard to look him in the eye when he wouldn't even look my way. You can speak up, gal, if time allows, but nobody wants to hear you whine. Grow up, but not over 39 is why women need wives. Honey, I know you didn't ask me, but let me give you a piece of my mind. 'Cause with my vast experience, I could probably give you some advice. I mean, do it your way, but I gotta say you'll be sorry if you decline. You're like a book I read 100 times is why women need wine. After half a glass I feel divine. It's all peace on earth, goodwill towards man. Everything is gonna turn out fine. Oh, I'm gonna say the perfect thing at just the perfect time. Just keep reading between the lines is why women need wives. Well, this probably ain't worth a damn, and thanks so much for listening. Feel free to help me understand why I gotta over-explain just why my aim misses the mark about every time. Just trying to get myself back in line is why women need wives. time. Just keep reading between the lines is why women need wine.
Today on Big Sound Small Town, my guest is Anya Henkile. How are you, Anya?
I'm doing great, Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. You're very busy these days.
Yeah, I'm getting so busy.
Well, I mean, I know that you were I'm in Shelby, and I know that you were down in Cleveland, Rutherford County for the Cherry Bounce Festival.
I think that might have been one of my first festival stages since the pandemic kind of lifted.
Ah, well, that was a good and big time, I'm sure.
We had a great time.
Yeah, that was also your band is pretty fabulous.
I've been able to work with some wonderful folks in this region. You know, this region is so rich
Oh, it
in
is.
So it's, you know, since I've been working on my own and not with a band, I've had the opportunity to really pull some wonderful musicians and friends into what I'm doing. And
Yeah, I saw you had Billy playing with you.
I've gotten to know Billy Cardine pretty well. He plays the dobro
Right.
and has lived in the Asheville area for about 20 years now.
Yeah, he used to play with some really good friends of mine from here, Acoustic Syndicate. So I'm really aware of Billy's talents, which are wonderful. And so you're on your own now.
I am. I guess probably for about 3 years now. Although the pandemic really spanned a lot of that process, but I guess in the spring of 2018 or 2019. Gosh, it's all. No, I guess 2019. So I've been on my own for 2 years now.
Okay.
And in spring of 2019, Tellico sort of stopped performing with the same personnel, and so I was just working with musicians and other musicians to play through my calendar.
Right.
But at that point, I began working under my own name until the pandemic hit, and the pandemic ended up being really helpful in some ways for just reimagining who I am as an artist and what kind of music I want to be putting out there. And it's a process that's continuing as things have opened up. But during the pandemic, when everyone was live streaming, we couldn't get together with other people. And it
Right.
really pushed me to put on solo shows and really sink into what I'm all about as an artist. And that was this really scary thing, you know, just my songs and my voice and my guitar playing.
Oh, that's
Just
very scary. Yeah.
sinking into that and making that a full show.
No.
Feeling
Go ahead.
comfortable with that being a full show. And then now coming back into a band situation, how to retain some feeling of that,
Right.
even if I have accompanists and people involved. So I'm still figuring it out for sure, but it did help me make that transition to being a solo artist.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I mean, a lot of people did a lot of solo stuff that just out of necessity during this time. But okay, you're on Organic Records, right?
Yes.
So you just had a new single to drop.
I dropped a whole album.
Oh.
Yeah, so the way that Organic has been envisioning releasing music is kind of in honor of how popular streaming has become, and it's and social media in general
Right.
as a way of reaching music fans and things like that. So we've been recording and releasing music all through the pandemic, and
Sure.
that has kept the content coming, and videos and streaming content and that sort of thing. But we wanted to put out an album that was kind of a compilation of those songs that have already been released,
Right.
but also some songs that haven't. So there's some new stuff that is, that's just been released in the past week, and including the title track of the record, which is Eden and Her
Right.
Wonderland.
Yes. That's and I guess that's your latest, as they go these days, a single release too.
Well, they're all released.
Yeah.
So all the tunes on the record are available on streaming. They're on YouTube. They're available for download or to buy the whole record. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's
they're
the
out there.
yeah,
All those little babies.
it's the music industry these days as we know it.
Yeah,
So
it's wide open. There's a lot of negatives and a lot of positives to what's happening
there is.
with music, and I have to just accept the way it is and try to make it work the best that I can for myself and the people that work with me. And organic is helping me make that transition into the streaming world and making that work for me. And so I'm trying to figure out, just like everybody else, but I'm trying to see the real positives.
Sure.
For example, if you can get introduced to people that wouldn't have heard about you otherwise, streaming can really reach a lot of people
It can.
if you get lucky. So we're just trying to increase those chances of getting lucky.
Well, Organic's a good label. I like those people there. I like all their artists. So you're in good company. I really believe that you found you a good place to be on your own at. Okay, so take me back. Songwriting, that is your thing, right? I mean, that's what you do.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I never really thought of myself as a songwriter. I mean, that wouldn't be the first thing that I would say.
Really?
Until that whole Merlefest deal. Just, I got into music because I liked old time music and bluegrass. I wanted to play heritage music. I
Right.
didn't care anything about writing songs. I just wanted to play the old time way. And it wasn't until I started a band with some other folks called Delia Low, and
Right.
we just needed songs. And I kind of picked up on the fact, like, I just got this idea, like, oh, people write them. So I just started writing them, and I always liked writing. I enjoyed doing, like journaling and
Right.
writing and things like that, but I had never tried songwriting. So it wasn't really until, I guess, '07 that I started writing
Really?
for my bands.
Well, that's impressive because I listened to your material and I think you're an excellent songwriter. Now you're a wonderful vocalist. You are without a doubt. But for some reason, I thought possibly as well as you wrote that songwriting was like, oh yeah, that's what I do. I just happen to be able to sing really well to back them up. So
Well, I'm glad I found my way to songwriting, because I feel like it does engage a lot of things that I really enjoy, which is, like I said, writing and just processing what's happening in this world, talking about it with my music,
Right. Oh,
talking
yeah.
about it with people. And I think that is probably what this album is about. I mean, I went in to record this album with a whole bunch of different songs. And I came out with an album that's kind of a COVID album. And it's a conversation about what we all just went through with COVID and the uncertainty and the intensity of it. And so there's a lot of material that's kind of just speaks to what this COVID experience was like. And that's a conversation and a way to process that for myself and for everyone that listens to
Sure.
the music. But kind of going back to what you were saying about songwriting in general, it's even though it engages things that I enjoy, it's still very difficult. It's a very difficult process, and it's it's a real challenge, and
Oh,
it's the hardest thing that I do. It's the most satisfying, but it's also the most difficult thing that I do.
oh, it's much harder than what people think. Uh, I've done it for over 50 years, and yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's harder than what people think it is because there's a lot of write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. So it's a chore a lot of times, but you get better at it the more you do it.
Yeah, it just takes an incredible amount of motivation.
It
And
does. Oh, I carry ideas around and don't work on them for a while because sometimes I'm just lazy. You know, it's like I got this idea, I got like 3/4 of it done, but I just can't sit down and take the time to finish it up. I don't know.
yeah, maybe the closest thing it's like jogging, like that first jog you go out to run and it's just, I mean, every step is,
Yeah,
and then, you do it the next day and then it starts getting easier.
it
So I
does.
think getting in the zone with it and having some regularity with it is really, kind of helps grease the wheels there. But, life happens
Oh
and
yeah,
you go through these different phases. Like right now, I'm working hard doing these kinds of things, interviewing and trying to get the word out about the record and getting touring going again. All those things just take so much time and energy that
they do.
carving out that creative time is difficult during certain periods. For example, right after your album comes out, as you're in the middle of touring it, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh yeah. That's
So,
this hard. It's hard to find, and sometimes you just have to live a little bit to get that inspiration back too. Uh, it's
yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't always flow that way. So you have an old time string band background, basically.
My first record was on a label called The Crooked Road through Virginia Folklife. Um, and they do, Floyd Store and Blue Ridge
Sure.
Music Center, and they've got stops all along, mostly Highway 58 there up in
Right.
Virginia, which is where I grew up. And a guy that I had met down at Floyd's Store, and I started really studying seriously duet singing.
Right. Yeah.
And so we put out a record just of old time duet singing songs, all covers. And that was my first record and my first band, I guess, is myself and a luthier called Jackson Cunningham who makes beautiful guitars. He lives up in Troutville, Virginia, up
Okay.
in the Grayson Highlands area.
Yeah, I do know where that is. Wayne Henderson lives not real far from there too. If you know Wayne, yeah. So
Right. And Jackson studied with Wayne some. And yeah, so that was my first band. And then I left Virginia and I had been living in my hometown, Blacksburg, and got interested in moving down to Asheville just because there was so many more musicians in a small area.
sure there is. There's a ton of them. Ton of good quality musicians.
And so that was when I started with my first band down here, Delia Low,
Right.
back in '07, '06, around that time.
Yeah, and that was a good run with them. I thought that was some pretty good work you got done there. I thought it was. I like what you guys were doing.
Yeah, that was a lot of our first band, or some of our early band experiences,
Right.
and I think we were pleased with how much we were able to accomplish with that. Our last album together we put out on Rebel Records,
Right.
which was a huge boost for me, just coming
Sure.
from Virginia and all the heritage from that label. It was very satisfying to be able to work with those folks and have my music a part of that body of work that's just so amazing. Those folks over at Rebel have
I
just
agree.
done some amazing work,
Yeah.
both out of Floyd and Charlottesville, Virginia. So
True. Yeah. I mean, so, all right. So after that, what did you do in the interim before Tellico, did you do that? Were you on your own kind of a little bit there?
Well, I had a little girl, and that kind of was the end of our time with Delia Lowe
Yeah,
because I wasn't able to really tour and record for a
that's
little
kind of where I
while.
was going
And
with this. Yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, it was just time. I was really happy to. I'm so happy that I had a chance to have a family,
yeah,
and I think the music industry is makes it really hard for women, especially because it is harder to tour and do all those things that this job requires when you have a little baby.
I
So,
agree.
but I wouldn't trade it. I was so happy to have that time, and but and at that time I wasn't sure I would go back into music. I just had invested so much into Delia Lowe that I wasn't sure
Right,
what would be next, and so I kind of thought I might stop playing music, but somehow I kept getting roped back into it, and then we started Tellico with a lot of the same band members
right.
in 2013, 2014. So my little girl was about 2, and we started, playing, and that grew and grew and grew
Yeah, I mean,
until I guess, yeah, 2019. So we were together about 4 or 5 years, something like that.
yeah. So I mean, it has a way of bringing you back in when you think you leave. I retired like 10 times, so and it never worked really well. But yeah, I'm glad you touched on that. It is harder for female artists with children than it is, I would say, for male artists. It's a harder industry all the way around for females as opposed to males.
It's there's a lot fewer, and there's a lot fewer role models, and then just the vibe, the energy of that business to navigate with just the way the world works
Yeah,
is a real learning experience, and it really requires you to dig deep and have a lot of courage. I think at times it's nothing that I'm always learning, and so it's a real opportunity to uh, look deeply at yourself and asking yourself questions like why do you feel like you may not deserve to be here? Why do you feel like this isn't enough? What you're doing isn't enough? What's inside you isn't enough? And I think it's the world telling you the things that all women feel, I think, but somehow in this business, when there's a lot of pressure and you got to kind of bring everything together and bring people together and stand up there on stage and be your best. There's just these extra doubts and insecurities that you have to manage, and
I'm
so
sure.
it really makes you a stronger person to have to take a look at that stuff and try to just say, oh yeah, there's that voice.
Yeah,
There it is. There it is, wondering if you can really do that. Or does everybody know really that you don't deserve to be here? And then you have to say, like, wait a second. They asked me to be here. They asked me to stand up on this stage. So they
yeah.
didn't ask somebody else. So I'm just gonna believe that I deserve to be here, and I'm going to do it.
See, it's kind of the opposite with guys. They think they're supposed to be there even if they're not. I
Is it?
mean,
I
yeah, oh
don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. I'm way worthy of this. In fact, I'm probably too worthy of this. That's to see a more guy mentality. I think is, you know, and generally, I also find that with people who have a lot of talent, a lot of times they do not think that they're are worthy of doing it. Whereas the guys and girls that don't have a whole lot of it, but still pursue this for a living, that seem to think they have lots of it. So it's kind of weird the way it works. So how did the Merle
Well,
Fest contest come about?
well, I had just gotten word that that some of the personnel was going to change over in Tellico, and I was pretty concerned, just how we were going to pull off the year. And a couple days after, uh, we kind of decided to dissolve the band, phone rang, and they said this gal called from Wilkesboro. She said, "Hey, is this Anya? I said, yeah. She said, hey, we're calling to let you know that you're a finalist in the Merle Fest Song Competition. And I thought, oh, wow, this is interesting timing. Here I was thinking, okay, well, my band's over. This is done. And then you're calling me, and I'm thinking that this is what I'm meant to do,
Yeah.
that this is the sign that you got to keep on going. So I didn't have a band, but I had this competition, and I don't know that I like the idea of competing against other wonderful creative artist songwriter type people.
Right.
It's like a sporting event, but in any case, it was it was a sign to me. It was a sign that I needed to keep growing as an artist and keep working at this, that some of the songs that I'm putting out there of the caliber to win
Sure.
a competition like that. And so I really was grateful for that opportunity just to kind of learn and also receive the support of
Sure.
that community, the songwriting community, the Merle Fest community. And so it was a wonderful experience. And I had called, when I wrote that song,
Tell
Zona,
them what that song is.
I have a buddy out in Middle Tennessee called Hippie Jack.
Yeah, I know Hippie Jack.
Hippie's been helping me a long time. He's a music promoter and a videographer, and he has his own syndicated show. But he's also just a laid back, kind of down to earth guy. In addition to all that, he was kind of gotten this idea to pair up songwriters with some folks that he was helping in his community. He had been bringing a lot of jackets and food and toys and stuff up to these people living in these old mining communities up in the Cumberlands.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited some songwriters to come and meet some of these people. Malcolm Holcomb, Daryl Scott,
Yeah, I know.
myself, Mary Gaucher.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up there. He said, I want you to meet Zona. So met Zona. She was a coal miner's daughter. What can you say? She had a rough life, and he just said, write this stuff down and write some songs. And I had a whole list of songs I wrote from those couple of trips that I took up to the mountain with Hippie, Zona being one of them. And I wrote this song, just Ballad of Zona Abston, is straight out of her mouth. When I sang it for her, she just cried. She said, yep, it's all true.
That's great.
And but I had it all written, but it's a ballad, it's not like a bluegrass hit or something,
Right.
And so I brought it to the producer for our last Tellico record, who's a guy named John Doyle, who's a kind of like the Tony Rice of Irish music.
Yeah, I know who he is too.
He's a wonderful composer, performer, and producer as well. And he said, well, do you have any songs? I said, I got this song. I don't know if it's any good or not. So he kind of helped arrange it and actually played bouzouki on the recording that we did on that record. But I asked him if he'd come and perform that song with me, since he helped really bring it to life, and gave me the confidence that it's a great song and gave me the idea to even submit it. So we got up and we performed that together. And if you win the competition, you get a set on the stage.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next day, and that was the main motivation that I had short term to want to win that competition, is so I could get to do a set of music with John Doyle, who's just such an incredible musician.
I agree. I'd like to do that myself. Yeah.
So it was a wonderful thing to win it. It was wonderful to perform with John, and it was wonderful. The best part of it, really, I have to say, was calling Zona afterwards, and I said, Zona, your song won.
That is cool.
And she said, that's great, honey. That's great. And for her, it's like when people don't care about you and what you've gone through in your life, to have that kind of honor given to your story, I think it means a lot. It meant a lot to her to be heard and to feel like people cared about what she had been through and found it interesting and important.
Was that hard to write?
It was hard in the sense that, how do you summarize somebody's whole life into one song, and then all the constraints of songwriting, just the rhyming and the melody and all
Sure.
that stuff. It's both helpful and difficult. I mean, it was kind of streamlined, some of it. So I just at a certain point had to say to myself, okay, what things about her story were the most moving, and making sure I got all those things in there and kept it straightforward and simple enough so that
Right.
it was the message could come across. And I mean, probably if I sat down and rewrote it, it would be different. But that's where I was at that time, and now the song's done. Like,
Yeah.
can't really go back and
No.
rewrite stuff.
No, you can't. Bob Dylan tries every once in a while, but no, it's a great song though. It was worthy, and I often wondered about the story of that. I mean, this was kind of unusual, how you would come up with that, but now I know. So that was really cool. I have two fairly close friends who have won the Merle Fest, and they're North Carolina artists. Michael Reno Harold, do you know Michael?
Oh yeah. In fact, I had his guitar for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had bought a guitar. I'd wanted one of these old Gibson guitars. I ended up getting one of those little, those pretty little guitars. And he had sold it to a buddy of mine. He sold it to me, and I played that for a long time. I really like that guitar.
Yeah, I like Michael. He's a good guy. And another guy named Phil Ruff who works out of, I guess Phil lives in Rutherford, I guess. But that's quality songwriting. All three of you people write very good songs. And what's funny is to me that the other two people, Michael Reno and Phil, they won in the gospel category, and I would tell you that the songs that won for them were probably the only two gospel songs they have, which is kind of weird. So songwriting is a strange thing. So what happens next with you?
Next with me, well, I'm trying to get behind this record and just tour behind it. And that's a real exploration for me since, like I said, I don't have a regular band.
Right.
And that has its positives and negatives. But for me, having been with a regular band for so long, I'm enjoying the freedom of trying out different things in different formats and having the opportunity to collaborate with lots of different people.
Sure.
And I've had an opportunity to collaborate with a couple out of Mount Airy, North Carolina, who I recorded with on one of the songs on the album first, called "What's It Gonna song called "What's It Gonna Take."
Mm-hmm.
And I had met them. His name is Deshaun Hickman. He plays a sacred steel style of pedal steel.
Yeah, Robert Randolph.
Learned straight out, out of the African American
Sure.
church tradition. And his wife Wendy, who's a gospel singer, and I've just had a wonderful time collaborating with them. It's not an instrument that I would have typically used, but something about that sacred steel style,
It's cool stuff. Yeah.
single string melodic playing, and with so much heart, it just somehow is a really good match for what I do. And so, I've got a couple of shows with the two of them.
Oh, that's great.
In fact, I was just working on our set list for Floyd Store here I'm going to go to the Floyd Store with a pedal steel and drums.
That is crazy. Yeah, I know. That is really funny.
And, we've got a tour in Europe that we're working
that's
out for
great.
next year with Billy Cardine
Oh, yeah.
and his wife, Mary Lucy. And just trying to put the tour together. I'll be going to Colorado with a bass player who happens to be my cousin. We're going to do
That's
a
good.
lineup. So, like I said, it's just going to be a really fun opportunity to really get behind this album and put it together with a lot of different musicians and a lot of context and see kind of how that feels.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing when you can do that. You're not stuck to a one band, one group of people format. It just allows your shows to be so varied.
So yeah, there'll be that. And there's a lot of putting out, there's a lot of putting out the shows and the publicity and all that stuff. So, I think that kind of swings the pendulum away from that going inside and that creative work that,
Right.
will be the counterbalance. And so I'm looking forward to, now that a lot of that's set and I'm working through a lot of that, I'll be looking forward to getting to a creative space and see where I'm at that point. What
Right.
we all need to think about. Well, we're all thinking about what needs to be said, what I need to say, and where I'm at musically. It'll be a journey. And I think that's where I've kind of gotten to. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that um, I'm giving it all I have, but I'm trying to look at it in the long haul. Like, what
Right.
do I need to do to make this work for my life energetically, for my family, for my friends, for to have a good balanced life and to make the kind of music that
Right.
I'm meant to make. You start thinking about what it is you're meant to be doing, what needs to
Sure.
happen, prioritizing those things, and making sure that you have the energy and inspiration to maintain that over the long haul. And so I think I'm kind of entering that middle phase of a of an artist's career where you're really um, starting to think about those things.
Starting to think a little differently when you're young, and it's just plumb fun. And it's, I think that's how bands and music works in the beginning is, hey, this is so much fun. And then it kind of evolves and takes on a life of its own as it goes, the longer you do it. And particularly if you wind up with a career doing it, then it kind of changes. And I'm sure it's still fun for you.
There's nothing more fun than just getting into the middle of the energy of a song, and when you're playing with people and there's good energy, that's what it's all about.
I agree.
And I think that's what people see. That's what people see. They think, oh, it'd be so much fun. But what people don't see is there's just so much more to it that
Oh,
it makes it a real job, and it's very taxing in terms of your energy, your emotions, and
it is.
there's a lot of highs and lows to it. So it's never a dull moment, but
No, but
it's cranking through the yeah, the highs and lows that I think make it. That's the biggest challenge, I think.
yeah, and I think you're expressing this pretty well. People have, and a lot of course, I have tons of musician listeners, but I have people who love music who listen, and sometimes they just don't really understand how hard the music business is and how hard it all is to put together and how many people it takes and what a toll it takes on you to do it. It just looks like fun and games. And it is when you're on stage. It is pretty much fun and games. I mean, it's a great job when you get to do the job. It's the prepping to get to do the job that's kind of the work part of it.
But that is your job, and that's my job. Like, I
Yeah,
think about that. Like, I'm an entertainer essentially,
yeah,
and my job is to connect with the listeners, and they don't need to know about all this other stuff.
true. They
But
don't.
so I'm the one. It's my work to keep that sustainable. But there's things that you just don't anticipate. Like, this one gal came up to me and she said, I had written this song called "I Got a Lot Riding on These Wheels." I just made a little video. It was kind of trying to get out the vote a little bit,
Right.
but it was about women and voting. It was 100 years of the suffrage
Sure.
movement and women getting the right to vote. And anyways, I had written this song, and she saw this song. Her husband had died, and she was living alone through the pandemic, and she just was so depressed. And she watched that video. She said, I watched that video like 30 times and decided I'm going to move to Asheville and start over and start my life again. I'm 75, but I don't want to be done. I
Oh,
want
that's
to keep
great.
living. So, somebody comes up and says that your song motivated that kind of thing, and you think, okay, well, fine. I can send
Yeah.
this one extra email or deal with this little problem.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you know the power of music to really help another person, those are the kinds of stories that kind of keep you going. And they're just little things, but they're huge, and that's gives you reason to keep going.
Yes, I kind of understand it. Mine is the other way. I have some songs that I probably would just as soon forget about that other people never let you forget about that are more. When you write them, you really aren't sure why you even wrote it. It's kind of a lot of fun at the time, and you even think it's cute and play them a couple of times, and then they'll never go away. Then you have this stuff that you're really serious about, and everybody just wants to hear a really funny song that you wrote one time. So, but it's okay. I mean, that's part of it too. Be careful what you write, because it's if you record it, it's always there. But it's fun. It's fun. What else we need to know?
Well, you know, it's such a wild thing. It's such a wild thing to be to end up being in this place making music, and it's such a gift. Everybody that I know from this area that I get a chance to play with. And I was thinking about people that enjoy music, asking, well, what are your favorite artists? And recently I've been thinking that the people that I enjoy listening to in my free time, if I'm in the car or whatever, I've been able to interact with so many wonderful people at
Right.
these festivals and shows with sharing with another band or
Mm-hmm.
people that I meet, and I realize I enjoy their music the most, more than a big artist that I've never
Oh
met or I
yeah.
don't
Oh
know.
yes.
But because I know them and I know a little bit about them, I can see them. Their music means more to me,
Oh, I
and
agree.
I think, of course, we have these heroes and these people that are so that have given us so much and have inspired us so much. But even people that aren't the most famous or well
Sure.
known, they can make some damn good music. And
Oh,
the fact that you can see them in a small venue that where you can actually go up and talk to them afterwards, or you can actually go order something from them and they'll send it to you from their own
sure.
stash that's under their bed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's a relationship that you can build, and it can give back so much, and you can get so much enjoyment out of it. And so I guess that's what I was thinking about is being from this area, especially where we have so much music all the time,
Yeah.
um and some great places like the Scruggs Center and all
Oh
that,
yeah.
like places that allow people to get together, meet up with their friends and families, and
Oh, this is a
share
wonderful.
music.
It is, and that's kind of the basis of my whole podcast is that there are so many good artists that you have never heard of in your life, but there are these people are as talented as anyone anywhere. I mean, there's I can give you a prime example. Is well, okay. Actually, your label is full of people that most people do not know but need to know.
For sure, absolutely. And like the pandemic's been so hard on venues,
It
and it's
has.
been so hard on artists, and it's been so hard on everybody.
It has.
Everybody is kind of damaged, I think, a little bit
Oh, I think
from
they are.
lack of contact, and there's it's blowing up. So you just find a concert, go to it, bring some friends, find
Right.
out what's going on with them, find an artist you like. You'll get out of that concert feeling different than you went in.
Oh,
And it doesn't
definitely.
matter who it is, just go, enjoy it, enjoy this place, enjoy this moment, enjoy this life. And this is a perfect time to do it, that we're bouncing out of this thing. to kind of discover all that beauty.
I agree. It's been too long without music, live music. Live music actually is pretty much the breath of America, and people don't get to breathe it in enough, I don't think. So those are great words to end that on. I love your perspective of it.
Yeah, it's just something I've been thinking about recently. That connection is the most important thing. I mean, that's what the music is kind of a surrogate of. It's just connection.
Yeah.
People want to feel heard, and with your songs, you can help, say something that somebody might be feeling, and that's your job.
Yeah.
So yeah, get out and see these artists, and we really appreciate that support. We appreciate the connection with y'all, and it's an exciting time. So,
all right. Well, I thank you. I know you're busy, and I thank you for taking this time to share your story. So,
thanks, Andy. Yeah,
it's
been interesting learning about you too, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay. See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Gonna come and get you. Gonna pick you up. 2,500 miles in my truck. The breezes become gentle, and the grasses blow. Skies start to clear, and the sun shines below. And eating down to borderlands, like the breath of a baby and the smell of its skin. We are innocent now as we were innocent then. Purify this heart, cleanse its needs, blind these eyes that need faith to see. And eating down to borderlands, eating down to borderlands. Rivers flow clean, The old man ceases to die, he's grown young in his ageless skin. The hourglass is still, teardrops cease to fall.